the young and the restless spoilers shock. In Genoa City, whispers have begun circulating about Sharon Newman and her strange, erratic behavior. Once stable and diligent in managing her mental health, Sharon has suddenly stopped taking her medication without warning. For someone who had worked so hard to maintain control over her illness, this drastic change raised red flags for those close to her. It wasn't just her impulsive decision, it was as if she were being manipulated, her actions no longer her own. But by whom? And why? Speculation grew that Sharon wasn't acting on her own accord. There was a shadow lurking behind her recent decisions, someone pulling the strings. The most plausible theory pointed to Ben Stitch Rayburn, a man with both the skills and the motives to orchestrate something so sinister. A brilliant yet troubled doctor, Stitch had the medical expertise to tamper with someone's medication, making subtle changes that could push even the most stable person off the edge. It wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that he had targeted Sharon as part of a larger, darker plan. Stitch was a well-known figure in Genoa City, once respected, now feared. His descent into darkness was gradual but undeniable. He had made enemies, and lots of them, over the years. His relationships, both personal and professional, had all but disintegrated, leaving him isolated, bitter, and dangerously vengeful. Stitch had once been considered a genius in the medical field, but his brilliance was overshadowed by his growing instability. Many believed he harbored a vendetta against the entire town, seeking to unravel the lives of those he considered enemies. It was easy to suspect that Stitch, with his deep knowledge of pharmaceuticals, could have been the one to tamper with Sharon's medication. Perhaps he switched her pills, replacing them with something that would destabilize her mental health, all without her knowledge. Sharon's sudden spiral seemed too perfectly timed, too coincidental, to be anything but deliberate. But why would Stitch target Sharon? Theories abounded, but the most popular one involved revenge. Stitch had long-standing grievances with several key figures in Genoa City, including Sharon's close family members, like Nick and Mariah. Hurting Sharon could be a way to strike at them indirectly, weakening their resolve, drawing them into chaos, and making them vulnerable. Stitch, who had lost so much in his own life, had no qualms about tearing down others to make them feel his pain. Nick Newman, Sharon's ex-husband and one of the few people who knew her intimately, had been quietly observing her behavior for some time. He had noticed the subtle shifts in her mood, the growing distance between her words and actions, and the unsettling look in her eyes, one that reminded him of the early days of her mental health struggles. Sharon had been doing so well for so long, but now it seemed like all of her progress was unraveling before his eyes. And Nick couldn't shake the feeling that someone was behind it. Mariah, Sharon's daughter, shared Nick's suspicions. Together, they began investigating quietly, hoping to uncover the truth without alerting Sharon to their concerns. They didn't want to spook her or make her feel as though they were controlling her. But they couldn't stand by while she continued down this destructive path. The question gnawed at both of them: who was behind this? And what did they want with Sharon? Nick had always been protective of Sharon, even after their relationship had ended. He knew she had the strength to overcome her illness, but he also knew how vulnerable she could be when things went wrong. He watched from the sidelines, agonizing over whether to intervene directly or give her the space to figure things out on her own. But the more he saw, the clearer it became that Sharon was not in control of her decisions anymore. Someone else was. All signs pointed to Stitch. He had the motive, the means, and the expertise. And Stitch had always been an unpredictable wildcard. While most people in Genoa City had written him off as a madman, Nick and Mariah knew that madmen could be the most dangerous. They began digging deeper, trying to trace Stitch's movements, hoping to uncover evidence that he was behind Sharon's sudden change. What they found only deepened their concerns. Stitch had been seen around the hospital, lingering in places he had no business being. He had been spotted talking to nurses and hospital staff, and there were whispers that some of Sharon's prescriptions had been altered recently. It wasn't hard to imagine that Stitch had used his influence and expertise to manipulate Sharon's treatment, driving her back into the instability she had fought so hard to escape. But the hardest part was proving it. Despite the mounting suspicions, there was no concrete evidence that Stitch was involved. He had always been good at covering his tracks, and without any hard proof.